my goodness, y'all. Yeah, we are here live with the Boxing Source podcast on Sunday, April 21st, 2024. And this is a late version, so to speak, as the host is currently in the West Coast. Just like there for the midweek report, been in the West Coast, still in the West Coast right now, and we got a lot of stuff to go over here with this particular podcast. Biggest for everyone is listening live here on the Boxing Source, whether it's on YouTube or it's on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. But we got a lot of things here that we're going to be talking about. And if you can, support the movement, hit the subscribe button here if you're on YouTube, hit the share button if you can, and support the Boxing Source. We got a lot of stuff to talk about in reference to this fight that happened last night. And you see the question if you're on, either YouTube or X. Did Ryan Garcia deceive the public with his performance against Devin Haney? He was able to get a decision win over Devin Haney and hand Devin Haney his first professional loss with the performance that he had there at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And there were like a number of things that I saw from Ryan Garcia in this, and a number of things that I saw from Devin Haney in this that, could carry over for both of these fighters. And, we're going to see if we can break that down here because y'all felt like it was something where it was a close fight, a close fight between these two, but it was more about what Ryan Garcia did to Devin Haney that kind of like carried things in comparison to what Devin Haney did over the course of the fight. Because, while there were moments there for Devin Haney, particularly early in the fight, particularly in the first half of the fight, the lapses that he had on defense was just glaring and really stood out and led to his downfall in this bout against Ryan Garcia. So we want to go ahead and break this thing down here, just starting off with basically what happened in the first round. Ryan Garcia started off real aggressive, real fast, and showed his speed against Devin Haney. And Devin Haney was just not, ready. Just didn't look like he expected that type of speed there coming from Ryan Garcia, particularly with that left hook. And that left hook caught Devin Haney early. And he was on shaky legs early in that first round. And people were like shocked to see that happening there from Devin Haney. And over the course of the fight, you seen that left hook be the theme there for the 12 rounds. And, even though Devin Haney was able to get through that and kind of like keep his composure a little bit, was able to utilize the jab, time the jab, mix it up, and go upstairs and downstairs with it. But it was nothing to where he was able to build something to really affect Ryan Garcia, and it was like Ryan Garcia was like, you know what? I know what Devin Haney is going to do. He's going to go with this type of pace all through the whole fight. But I know that this left hook that I have is going to affect him. And we already seen that in the first round. And so with that being said, even though Ryan Garcia really didn't do that much over the course of rounds like 2 to 5, you really seen Ryan Garcia like back up to the ropes, walking around left and right, try to adopt the shoulder roll of sorts, and didn't really have that much activity there against Devin Haney. But Devin Haney really didn't build off of landing the jab and a couple of punches to the body, particularly when Ryan Garcia was trying that whole little shell thing. He don't need to be doing all that shell stuff, man. That right there, you don't need to be doing all that. That's unnecessary, because if you ain't letting or making people pay for doing that type of a shell, and all you're doing is just rotating your hips all the way over so that your back is showing to your opponent, don't even think about doing that type of shell thing there against these opponents if you don't know how to utilize it that well. But with that being said, Devin Haney was able to, kind of like build points up with the jab, showing the jab, and he still has, a great jab. He definitely has a great jab, and things like that. So but the thing about it is, he didn't really build off that. So hey, I'm not sure like how he was going to be able to build the momentum as far as like having Ryan Garcia in trouble if he couldn't build off that jab. Real quick on the live, Matt Gomez on YouTube, it says Derek James approved Ryan. Ryan probably has been sparring Jamel and Jamal. It did not look like Devin was sparring better than that. Well, Jamal Charlo is with Coach Ronnie Shields. You can check out Coach Ronnie Shields Tuesday nights on the War Week radio network. I'm there with Coach Ronnie Shields on Tuesdays. So you do have, Jamal Charlo there with Coach Ronnie Shields. He's not there with Coach Derek James unless, they have something where they invite him over for some, work or whatever. But even with that, like you seen Ryan Garcia in the camp with Frank Martin there over at Derek James's gym. So you can have work there from Frank Martin, among other fighters that be out there over in the Dallas, Texas area or whatnot. But outside of that, like we really didn't see that much work from Ryan Garcia leading into this bout. That was the whole thing about him having his acts, what he was able to do as far as like doing some things there with his dad, doing some things with Derek James, running up and down hills that were being posted all over social media and all that type of stuff. And he was still able to come up with the performance like he did. That is the crazy part about it. He was able to turn up with that particular performance, even with all that was going down from those first press conferences that took place in New York City and over in the West Coast, and then came back and it ended up having this type of performance. You know what I'm saying? One time for Talk Trends on the live on YouTube, he said it's upset. It was great for boxing. The last one we had was Andy Ruiz's Jr.'s upset over Anthony Joshua over at Madison Square Garden in June of 20. What was that? June 1st, 2019. I was, pretty much. Yeah, I was there for that one, man, at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that was a crazy, crazy scene there with Andy Ruiz Jr. ended up stopping Anthony Joshua. Yeah, but this one here, man, I was really surprised with what went down here for Ryan Garcia because it was, kind of like a tale of two fights or a tale of two styles. Ryan Garcia, quick twitch, very fast with his hands, able to throw like either one punch really fast or four punches really fast. And then Devin Haney, with this, pace, just being patient, going at his opponent, not really, doing too much, timing his opponent and things like that, whether he was throwing, the jab and building off the jab or throwing lead hooks or whatever it was, because he tried to do attempt feints and then land with the hook on Ryan Garcia. But even with that, that didn't affect Ryan Garcia enough to the point where you had Ryan be affected with the punches from Devin Haney in comparison to with what Ryan Garcia was doing to Devin Haney. And that I think was the key part in that one. That was the key in that. And here it goes. Yeah, real quick. I mean, yeah, yep, that's the thing. Ryan came in there overweight. Does Devin Haney keep his belts? Yep. Devin Haney keeps his WBC title at 140 pounds. Mauricio Suleiman had clarified that after the fight that yes, Devin Haney is still the WBC super lightweight champion. Which is crazy work. Yeah, I said it, man. This is it's crazy work, yo. That that Devin Haney is still able to keep that WBC super lightweight title after what happened here. But back to the thing there with the fight. You know, like I said, man, it was like a tale of two halves. You had Ryan Garcia with a great start in the first round, but from rounds 2 through round 6 was pretty much like Devin Haney rounds. You didn't see much activity from Ryan Garcia at all for a majority of those rounds from 2 to 6. You know, you didn't really see nothing much of that at all. And then in round 7, it was back to Ryan Garcia catching, Devin Haney with the left hook and the right hand and was able to eventually knock down Devin Haney. And so that was the first knockdown. But after that, it was something where you kind of like seeing sloppy work there from, I would say, both fighters. One with Devin Haney, attempting to clinch and trying to, hold on to Ryan Garcia. And then with Ryan Garcia being like overreacting to those clinches and having the point where Harvey Doc called for the break and then you hit Devin Haney after the break. That's a clear foul. Can't really do that. Can't do that. Can't do that. And so that point was taken away. So instead of a 10-8 round, it ended up being a 9-8 round there for Ryan Garcia. Now you seen Devin Haney's legs still be all wobbly and stuff like that, but I think the key part of this fight was rounds 8 and 9, as far as like when you go about the scorecards or how you score the fight, was rounds 8 and 9, because those 2 rounds were pretty much up in the air, or at least for me it was. And that kind of like controlled like who would end up winning the fight, I guess, in the scorecards, or if you had it a draw, right? So those rounds 8 and 9, you had moments from both fighters, and still you had the instance where Ryan Garcia was doing that whole shell stuff and pretty much allowing Devin Haney to land those right hands to the body, But I think, from looking at it, here we are, reactive from that point, not just, landing those shots to the body, but if you could get like a couple shots to the body and then move towards your right, you throw 2 rights, step to your right, and then land and then throw the left hand or throw the left jab, like Ryan Garcia can't really do anything at that point. He's not able to throw back. He wasn't able to throw back being in that shell or whatever he was doing. So if you get those free shots, those free right hands to the body, then move or shift over and then just, shooting the left hook. But Devin Haney didn't quite do that. And that kind of was a real, I would say, a real deterrent there in reference to Devin Haney's part. You know what I'm saying? And then the 10th and 11th rounds were where Ryan Garcia was able to score the knockdowns. But it was more about, Ryan Garcia just catching Devin Haney and having him like where Devin Haney's legs were still not 100%. You had the knockdown in the 10th round, and after that knockdown, you really didn't see Ryan kind of, go all out on that one there. But you still had Devin Haney still hurt. So in the 11th round, now this was the one where I kind of said, you know what? This is what Ryan Garcia could have done in the 7th round, or pretty much in the 10th round or whatever, and how you're able to work off of a clinch and be able to score points, right? So he had Devin Haney affected, close to the ropes. They got off the ropes and then they had a little clinch. And then Ryan Garcia worked off the clinch through a combination 1-2 upstairs and put Devin Haney down to the canvas again. And that is how he should have done it from those times of the 7th round when he had Devin Haney seriously hurt, where Devin Haney really didn't have much of a choice but to grab and hold. And yeah, there were times when he stumbled and he went down to the canvas and they didn't count it. But I mean, hey, there wasn't no clear punches that landed before Devin Haney went down to the canvas, you know. But yeah, talk trends. I agree. Those championship rounds, him dropping Devin in the championship rounds was the most impressive thing that he was able to do there, because that was the key. That was the key to the fight. That was the key to the fight right there. Was him dropping Devin in those championship rounds, man. You know, and that ended up, affecting one scorecard, and then the other two had it clear, had it clearly in favor of Ryan Garcia with one score 114 to 110 and one score 115 to 109. But I mean, that 115, 109 in favor of Ryan Garcia had the first round in favor of Ryan Garcia, and from round 6 through round 12 in favor of Ryan Garcia. So that judge right there, Robin Taylor, had pretty much what, 8 rounds. It was like 8 rounds to 4, basically. But you had that 7th round with that 1 point deduction for Ryan Garcia. But still, 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Ryan Garcia for Robin Taylor's scorecard. And for Eric Malinsky's scorecard, what was that? Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds there in favor of Ryan Garcia. So we had it 7 rounds to 5 in favor of Ryan Garcia. So that was, that was the 2 scores that gave Ryan Garcia the fight over Devin Haney. And the thing about it is that it was an interesting fight to watch. It was an interesting fight to watch. Great question there, Matt Gomez. I'll get into that here in a bit. It was an interesting style matchup between these two, and the thing about it is like you had Devin Haney, and this was the one that kind of like got me. Like Devin Haney, when I was previewing this particular fight, I had Devin Haney's patience, his way that he controls distance, the way that he controls the pace, the way that he commands the jab. That would be his way to get to Ryan Garcia and build off of that. And it just looked like he was doing that, but he didn't do anything else outside of that. And that was the crazy part. And I'm like, you're the guy that had the overall skill level going into this, and you were supposed to outclass Ryan Garcia in this. But what we saw there was, at some points he did outclass Ryan Garcia. But at other points, you've seen lapses there that kind of was like, what in the world are you doing? Said Talk Trends has it where he saw Arena video that view changed from Ryan, where Ryan outclassed Devin. I mean, there were moments there where he did. Like I was saying, man, that Philly roll gave Devin problems. He was confused. I don't know about that, because there were times where, Devin Haney just said, oh, okay, you're going to give me that opening there for me to throw the right hand? All right, bet. I'm going to throw these right hands to the body. Blim, bloom. And still, Harvey Doc stepped in and said, hey, you can't be turning your back. But, the thing about it is like, if you're going to give those free points away, you go ahead and take them. But like I was saying earlier, you could build off of that, because if you're able to land those 2 shots to the body, just to eliminate all possibility of your opponent trying to counter off of that, step off to your right and shoot the left hand, shoot the left jab, or shoot the left hook, And I didn't see that there from Devin Haney, man. I was like, Those are times where you can take advantage, especially after that first knockdown there in the seventh round, because that seventh round he was in some real trouble where not just with the knockdown, but all the times that he was grabbing and holding and stumbling and fumbling and all that type of stuff. So he was able to try to get his composure back there in the eighth and ninth rounds. But you got to be able to do something where you're throwing more than one or two punches at a time. Because there were times where Devin Haney would throw the jabs and throw solid jabs, but also do feints and land either with the left or the right hook. He could do a feint with the left jab and then turn it and make it a left hook. But outside of that, you really didn't see that much combination punching there, out of Devin Haney. And I think that part was something that kind of made the difference there in this bout, because you want to be able to land more than one or two punches out there against Ryan Garcia, just for the eyes of the judges, potentially like saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, he's landing one shot at a time, but here's Ryan Garcia that's throwing these combinations and he's able to land those bigger punches, and that could have an effect, depending on who the judges are in this bout. Man, you gotta be able to um take advantage of those type of things. You can't just throw one or two punches at a time and expect that to kind of like say, hey, you know what, uh that would kind of like bank you rounds. And as we seen there, like I said with the scorecards, you had one of these judges have like a couple of rounds where it looked like it could have been a Haney round, ended up going to Ryan Garcia. So it could be because of the activity or the type of punches that are landed by Ryan Garcia is what's given preference to or over the work that Devin Haney was doing. So there was that. But hey, I mean, that was just a crazy, crazy thing there for Ryan Garcia being able to score the majority decision win. Who would have thought that? The pre-fight odds, a couple of weeks ago had Devin Haney as high as a minus 1,000 favorite over Ryan Garcia, right? And it had gotten down to about like 800 before the fight, right before the fight. And after the first round, it went down to minus 650. And then in the second and third rounds, this is from DraftKings, y'all. In the second and third rounds, it went back up to minus 800 there for Devin Haney. So imagine going from that minus 1,000, down to the 800 and down to minus 650, and then going back up to minus 800 after the third round in favor of Devin Haney. And then Ryan Garcia was still able to pull off this upset. Shout out to Thomas Hill there, Just Boxing Talk, man. Salute to you. He said that Ryan had 5 legit knockdowns, 2 were discounted. Hey, I said earlier, man, I don't know about all that because, a couple of them, it was more about, what Ryan Garcia was doing. I thought he kind of muddled things up, and didn't necessarily take advantage there in the seventh round. And immediately after the fight, the immediate reactions there was that you had people say that the fight could have been stopped there in the seventh round if they kind of caught those 2 knockdowns there in the seventh round or whatever it is. But I think you might have missed it earlier. I said that knockdown that Ryan Garcia scored in the 11th round is how he should have went at it in the seventh round, because he was able to get off of the clinch, clearly get off the clinch, free his hands up, and then be able to throw the 1-2, bam, bam, and knock down Devin Haney. Like we've seen there that Ryan Garcia had the clear speed advantage that Devin Haney just couldn't nullify. And it was that, and a little bit there with the power advantage, because the thing with Devin Haney is Devin Haney didn't necessarily have, much thump behind his punch, you know. So even when he was doing the work that he was doing from rounds 2 to 6, you just really didn't see that much real trouble out of there for Ryan Garcia, and I think that kind of like built up his confidence. You really didn't see Ryan Garcia at a point where he was like absolutely like flustered. There were times where he was frustrated, but he was frustrated because of the clinching and all of that, you know. But outside of that, he just felt like there was nothing that could really affect him from the offense of Devin Haney. It was more about Devin Haney's execution on offense and lack of discipline on defense that really kind of like harmed him, really harmed him there. You know what I'm saying? Um, Matt says, allow Devin a loss like, boxing world allowed Manny Pacquiao many losses. Yes, he had many losses. That is true. But there's another fighter that Devin Haney had fought and defeated that kind of uh, gets losses mysteriously erased. But that's a whole nother story. With that being said, back to this whole thing there with Ryan and Devin. Now, with this being Ryan Garcia winning while being at 143 pounds, as I mentioned earlier, Mauricio Soleiman, the president of the World Boxing Council, said that the WBC super lightweight title is not vacant, that Devin Haney still keeps the belt. So it's basically like saying, hey, um, it's almost like a catch weight fight or something that's above 140 pounds, almost like we were supposed to have with Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. That was supposed to be at 155 so that the WBO title wasn't on the line. So it kind of like ended up being like this, you know um so that's what they have. So yeah, Devin Haney still has that WBC super lightweight title. He just has that one loss on his record, and so we got to see what's next for Devin Haney in this case. You know what I mean? Talk Chen says here live. He says all Devin got to do is win his next rival's fight. He can't take an L versus Teofimo Lopez or Tank Davis. Yep, yes, that's true. But with this fight, though, this kind of halted a lot of momentum there for Devin Haney because, for folks that were like fans of these fighters, fans of Ryan Garcia, fans of Devin Haney, fans of, as you mentioned there, Tank Davis, right? A lot of people were mentioning or having this fight being built up as a quote unquote measuring stick for seeing where Devin Haney stands as far as like star power or being able to, gravitate people to go see him, right? So they were gonna compare, what's happening there with Ryan Garcia for what happened last year with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, right? And well, I mean, going into this, it looked like it took up to the last week into the fight, but then more eyes started to gravitate towards this fight. So it was, I guess it was kind of like that late crowd that's coming in there saying, hey, you know what? Even though Ryan Garcia is acting the way he's acting, let's see what happens here. So you kind of like had that, and then maybe, just maybe, after the first round, and people started saying, "Hey, whoa, what's going on here? Devin Haney's getting hurt by the left hook from Ryan Garcia," and maybe more eyes started to build towards the fight. So I think you would have had a lot of momentum there for Devin Haney if he was going to be eventually able to pull off the win, but he wasn't able to quite pull it off given what happened in the second half of that fight. He says Cat Quest in the building. He said Dev is who I thought he was. They are who we thought they were. Let them off the hook. No, my bad. Dev is who I thought he was. He thought he was good enough to beat Ryan, but knew he would lose at 40 or 140 pounds. It's like, hey, I mean, that could bring up some things. Like I was saying before, he did lose his fight to Ryan Garcia, but it was Ryan Garcia at 143 pounds. Yes, he did kind of hint at a potential rematch between these two fighters. As of now, as far as like what I've seen, I didn't see anything in reference to having a rematch clause that was put in place for this. Now, if it was for the WBC title, that would have been a voluntary defense. So yeah, there would have been a rematch clause for Devin Haney with him losing, and if Ryan Garcia would have won the WBC belt. Now with him being above 140, I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, it could. I would be down for a rematch. Both of them said, "Hey, we would be up for a rematch." If but I mean, this kind of like shoots Ryan Garcia's profile really high because he was the one to hand Devin Haney his first loss. Not Tank Davis, not Shakur Stevenson, who a lot of people tied to, Devin Haney, but Ryan Garcia, because a lot of people felt that Ryan Garcia was kind of like number four or the quote unquote ugly stepchild or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, him able to pull off that upset, it is crazy. Crazy work. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Matt Gomez says a Wyron walks around at junior middleweight. Devin is more bona fide. Ooh, I mean, we had the story of what happened with Devin Haney in his last fight against Regis Prograis. He was able to make weight 140, but rehydrated and came up to like what 162, 163 or something. So even with that, like Dev, if he's able to rehydrate to like 160, then Ryan, hey, if he walks around at like 154, then maybe he could just rehydrate or something too, like that same 160 or whatnot. So we gotta see, man. Talk to says if Devin won, the pay-per-view numbers was bad, they would have clowned him for being a star, claiming to be a star or something like that. Hey, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we still have to wait to see what the final numbers are, here for this zone pay-per-view. Well, you got the zone, you got pay-per-view.com and that type of stuff. So we got to see like how that works out. You know what I'm saying? But even with that, like I'm saying, what is gonna be next there for Devin Haney? Like you end up losing, you keep the belt, but you end up losing. So now how do you react to this? Because now it's like looking like, hey, yeah, you were able to have moments there against Ryan Garcia, but we seen what happened there when you got chin-checked, when you got hit with the left hook, and with the right hand. There were times when and I couldn't understand this. Like he would have his hands low, when he had his set, he would have his hands low, whether it's the left hand when before he's like attempted to throw the jab, or the right hand, coming up. So that left hook was going to be open for Ryan Garcia, whether it's a lead left or if it's coming off of a combination, because Devin Haney's defensive discipline was not there over the course of those 12 rounds, and particularly in the second half of the fight, and that ended up being his downfall here in this bout. So now, what's basically what's next. The key part here is that he is still the WBC champion at 140 pounds. And yeah, they still have what is it, Sandor Martin there, unless if we got to see if those WBC rankings have changed there a little bit, because I think they had a recent update there for the WBC rankings. Actually, they did update them as of Friday, right? But that's, before this fight. So yeah, you still have Devin Haney as a WBC super lightweight champion, and Sandor Martin is still the number one contender there. You know, now he could have that fight, that mandatory defense against Sandor Martin. But after that, who knows what else is out there? Who knows what else is out there, man? I know that there's a number of fighters within the 140-pound division that are like almost like acting like vultures out there, seeing what they saw with Devin Haney, because Devin Haney was kind of like viewed as one of those fighters that could have been considered as a you know maybe a pound for pound talent, maybe. Now I did have Devin Haney listed on the Boxing Source pound for pound rankings. But of course, that's going to be updated after what we just saw. We had Devin Haney there as high as number 5. Okay. But yeah, this loss right here, ooh, yeah, you know. So we'll see, man. A Dog Tread says, hey, Devin got KO. what he got was, he got to get his respect back and stuff like that. He says fighting Sandor Martin after Ryan Garcia lost is bad. I don't think anyone's watching that. Hey, I mean, I don't know, man, because Sandor Martin, actually, that type of a matchup wouldn't be all too hot at all, man. Sandor Martin doesn't really, man. That's almost like Devin Haney fighting Sandor Martin is almost like Devin Haney when he what was it? He had that fight against Yuriorkis Gamboa. It would kind of be like that. That style clash right there. Nah, that ain't gonna be a good look. Like it's a defensive boxer versus a defensive boxer that really doesn't, you know, try to throw punches in Sandor Martin. That would be a really bad matchup. It'd be probably a booster, confidence booster of sorts there for Devin Haney, but it wouldn't be aesthetically a good fight to have at all. And from a business perspective, you wouldn't want to have a fight like that. So it really is a crazy situation here for Devin Haney, because we got to see how he responds or reacts to having this loss. Because after 6 rounds, it looked like he had a comfortable lead. But then after that first knockdown in the 7th round, it went all downhill for him. You know, Matt Gomez says, hey, maybe AB could get some of that action. Well, we got to see what happens with AB. Supposedly, well, he's supposed to be fighting Blair the Flair Cobbs on May 31st. What was it, May 31st? I think it is. Yeah, May 31st or something. So I don't know, man. We gotta see. They had this thing lined up for him, but hey, we'll see. AB versus Devin. Hey, that could be an interesting matchup. That could be really interesting. Really interesting. But I'm not all too sure. So but yeah, outside of that, man, I mean, he still has, like I said, he still has that WBC super lightweight title. So Sandor Martin is there. They could probably, do something to activate that mandatory there for that. But yeah, it wouldn't look good as far as like aesthetically, but hey, you don't really have much else out there for Devin Haney at this point. Who did I say is also ranked out there, the WBC? You got Gary Antoine Russell, that's out there ranked. I think he's newly number 2. Let me go on the joints here real quick, because they, like I said, they had updated it on Friday, right? So you got Sandor Martin there at number 1. You got Gary Antoine Russell at number 2. Dalton Smith at number 3. Let me see if I can share this joint, man, because I pretty much share this joint, and y'all be able to see it with me. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. I should have it up here real quick. Yeah, you got Sandor Martin there, number 1. Gary Antoine, number 2. Dalton Smith at number 3. Richard Hitchens at number 4. And Jack Cattle at number 5. You know? So yeah, man. So those are the top 5 there in the WBC rankings right now. And with Sandor Martin there at number 1, yeah, it looks like they might not have a good little look out there for Devin Haney if they try to get that fight. But at the same time, is that a fight that you really feel like Devin Haney can win? Most likely. Will it be aesthetically pleasing? No. So you probably get that move, or you don't make that move yet, but you got other guys there like Gary Antoine Russell. That would be a very interesting matchup at this point. If they lock that in, Devin Haney versus Gary Antoine Russell. Ooh, that. Hey, listen, I would be down for that fight. I would definitely be down for a fight between Devin Haney and Gary Antoine Russell. We got to see what's up with Gary Antoine Russell, though. Like I said, I mean, try to reach out to his camp or PR team. Haven't really heard back from him. I actually did talk with Gary Antonio Russell last weekend there, so you did have that, right? But yeah, other than that, I haven't really heard much noise from Gary Antoine Russell as of yet. And of course, you had the whole thing with Richard Hitchens a couple weekends ago, where some people thought he lost that fight. Some people thought Richard Hitchens, lost that fight that he had there against Gustavo Lemos, right? But he's there up there at number 4 currently, in the rankings. That would be another interesting matchup, but that would kind of like be almost similar to Sandor Martin as far as like styles, because Richard Hitchens is more of like a precise. Hey, I say he's kind of like Devin Haney as far as like his style. Builds off the jab, works off the jab, and doesn't really do much outside of that. So I'm like, hey, you really wouldn't get that much of a pleasing matchup with that either. Jack Catterall he's a come forward type of a guy. So you probably have more action from that, and that could be something there that'll be good for Devin Haney. But other than that, those are like those type of matchups that would be out there for Devin Haney while he has that WBC title, but yeah, I don't know. Will he go that direction, or will he go towards more of those big fights? Will he go for that Ryan Garcia rematch? That would, like I said, that would be very lucrative for him. Of course, Devin Haney and his father and trainer Bill Haney was talking about, we did this in order to try to make this fight. We took 45% of the purse there so that Ryan Garcia could get 55% of the purse. Well, you also had that bet of if you're overweight, you would have to pay $500K for each pound overweight. So you're supposed to have another $1.5 million off of this, even though you lost. Well, you still got paid a little bit here. So I like to see what these numbers end up turning out to be, for this particular fight. But outside of that, that probably is the most lucrative fight that he has here at this point by far, because I don't see like anything where he would angle for a fight against maybe a Tank Davis there at 140, around 140, or Shakur Stevenson at 140. Yeah, I don't see that happening right now. So you want to see if you could get something in with a rematch with Ryan Garcia and try to see if you can get that there at 140. even though Ryan Garcia is like talking like a yeah, this whole thing about B being at 140 pounds at this point, yeah, that's kind of that ship is kind of sailed. Because he's looking to, try to get in at 147, which I'll kind of talk about here in a little bit. Matt Gomez says what Sandor versus Devin Haney is better in the 22-foot rank. Hey, man, listen. Man, that thing got to be like 18-foot rank, man. We don't want to see like I don't think fans want to see like two guys moving around the ring all over the place, man, and not really having much activity. You saw a couple of those moments there in this fight between Devin and Ryan Garcia, where Ryan was kind of moving around all around the ropes, circling around the ropes, and fight fans ain't really all interested in all that. So what makes folks think that they'd be down for a fight between two guys that aren't necessarily engaging when it comes to offense there. And while Devin is more of a precise puncher, Sandor is a counter puncher. So if you got a guy that's more about efficiency against a counter puncher, you're gonna have a lot of those moments where no punches are thrown, none. And that ain't gonna be a good look, and that ain't gonna be a good matchup. Like people would not be looking forward to something like that. So yeah, I just don't see how that would fit in. Now, and the other thing too, where are you gonna have that fight at? You ain't gonna have that like you're gonna have that fight in Vegas? Devin Haney versus Sandor Martin in Vegas? Yeah. You're gonna have that fight over in what New York City or something like that? Like how you had Sandor Martin versus Teofimo Lopez? I don't know about that. Maybe that over in San Francisco. Where Devin Haney can have another fight in San Francisco. But are you gonna have it in that Chase Center or something like that? I don't know. That's the thing. What Matt Gomez says, he says Isak Cruz will put anyone through suppressive fire in an 18-foot ring. Hey, if there's anyone that would love to have a fight in an 18-foot ring, it's that guy, Isak Pitbull Cruz. Because he'll be able to try to you won't have that many you don't have much room at all to go around the ring if you were there against Isak Cruz. I just think that Isak Cruz is he gotta still work on cutting off the ring a little bit back, Talk to it says Devin Haney versus Sandor Martin is an undercard fight in Saudi Arabia. I don't even think they would even be. I don't even think they would want to have that fight. Be interested in taking that fight in Saudi Arabia. That is what it is, right? But that's the whole thing there with Devin Haney. Now we got to talk about the thing with Ryan Garcia. Like this win and the way that he was able to do it, like this why I had the cover photo be Deception 101. Like all the stuff that he was doing in the press conferences, all the stuff that he was doing while he, was training and getting prepared for this fight, all the stuff that he was doing like in the week of the fight, going into the weigh-in, knowing that he was overweight. He knew that he was going into this fight overweight. Shout out to MVO, Matt MVO, Most Valid Opinion, for that report a couple of days ago in reference to Ryan Garcia and him potentially being overweight, which ended up being true. That he was overweight. But as you see there in the weigh-in, he didn't really care that he was overweight. He just didn't care. He just wanted to have the fight and say, you know what? I don't care if I'm at 141, 142, 143, 145. I just want to go in there and I want to beat Devin Haney. And he was able to do that. It's this, as I said, this kind of stems from, their storied amateur rivalry. 6 fights, 3-3. Now you had this one, of course. They had that theme. This one counts. Well, it counts for that. Ryan Garcia, he's able to get that win. Matt Gomez says Staples Center for Ryan Devin rematch. Also, that was the other thing too, leading into this fight. That was one of the major criticisms of having a fight at the Barclays Center, was that you had two guys that are based in the West Coast. Of course, with Devin Haney, there, whether they say he's from Oakland or Las Vegas, a lot of people say he's from Las Vegas. But then you have, Ryan Garcia from Victorville, California. What is that, about an hour and a half drive from Los Angeles? I did that drive one time, about like hour and a half from Los Angeles, or at least from the Los Angeles airport. Um, so why not go ahead and have that fight over in the West Coast? I was saying that before this thing. I said, hey, Las Vegas, the venues in Las Vegas were open this weekend, but I guess they didn't want to, go ahead and touch, anything leading into the upcoming bout between Canelo and Munguia. So I guess they said, hey, we're not gonna go to Vegas there, So they didn't touch that. So they went over to Barclays Center. But if they do have this rematch, yeah, Staples Center would be great. It would be great for that rematch. It definitely would be. But my thing is, if they're gonna have that rematch, is it going to be at 140 pounds? I doubt it. I would doubt that really, 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 whatever. Like, I would really doubt it, right? Because I think the thing with Devin Haney too, and yes, he is, still the WBC super lightweight champion. But I also think that he has a little bit of issues here and there trying to get to that 140 pounds. So that could be another factor. Is Devin Haney going to continue or move forward being at 140 pounds? I would say that he shouldn't do that. I would say that he should continue his career above 140 pounds. That he should be there at, welterweight. Just go ahead and be at welterweight. Go for the rematch. Have it at 147 pounds, or the welterweight limit. That way you don't have to worry about knocking down your weight. Because if you're saying that you're rehydrating and you're up to like 160 pounds or whatever it is, then maybe you shouldn't be kind of like moving around there at 140 pounds. Like, at least I don't think so. If you got to cut more than 15 pounds to make weight of where you're competing at, that's kind of stretching. Dependent, and also, how long you've been in the game really affects that as well. Because the longer you've been in the game, the older you get, the harder it's going to be in order to cut the weight down. So you want to kind of like, slow down as far as like trying to continue to compete at a weight where you're really struggling to make weight. You know, ooh, what about Ryan Garcia versus Keith Thurman at 147 pounds? Hey, that was something that I ain't really expect out of. That's something out of the blue. Ryan Garcia versus Keith Thurman at 147. Well, the thing about it is, um, well, with Keith Thurman being injured, and he has a serious injury. That was a serious injury that he suffered. He's going to be out of the paint for a good little while. So yeah, Keith Thurman at 147 with Ryan Garcia. Nah, that ain't it. That ain't it. One fight that was kind of that was mentioned, particularly since he was out there or he was in attendance, was Jerron Boots Ennis. We still haven't had the fight there for Boots Ennis under Matchroom Boxing yet. He just recently signed to Matchroom Boxing, so we gotta have that first fight there for Boots Ennis under Matchroom there. So I don't know if that fight could really be possible. And it also had that little moment with Ryan Garcia's father and Eddie Hearn, and Ryan Garcia's father was cussing out Eddie Hearn because he was like bragging because he said, "Hey, you had Devin Haney and you had Luke Campbell and we beat them both and we did that." So, and then he says, "What else you got?" And then Eddie Hearn says, "Drawn in this." And Garcia was it looked like he was stuttering and fumbling and stumbling and saying, "Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I overreacted. I mean, I like you." And I'm like, "Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here?" But yeah, Booth Ennis, yeah, that's a really outside chance for that happening anytime soon. One person kind of like mentioned this as a fan of big events. Well, actually, two fighters they mentioned as far as big events. And one of these guys, Ryan Garcia mentioned, and that is Terrence Bud Crawford. Ooh, Ryan Garcia versus Terrence Crawford. I don't know about all that. One, Terrence Crawford, you know what? We could pretty much say it. He ain't gonna be at 147 pounds. All right, he ain't gonna be at 147 pounds. The latest thing was that he, was trying to go after a 154-pound title. That was gonna be against the WBA champion Israel Madrimov. At first, this was reported on the boxingsource.net that it would be Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov in Saudi Arabia. Now, folks are saying that maybe that fight could be moved over to Los Angeles in the summer. We have to see how that goes. But yeah, Ryan Garcia and Terrence Crawford, that would be crazy. That would be a crazy thing, you know. Um, he says, "Hey, Ryan Garcia gets back in blood for Derek James. A great storyline. He'll be the one to give revenge there for what happened between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr." And I don't know, man. And he says Ryan Garcia would not get past Erickson Lubin. Whoa. Hey, listen. 154, that would be stretching it, especially against a guy with the skill level of Erickson Lupin. Like, I don't think he would get to that particular point. Now, there's a guy at 154 that just signed there with Golden Boy Promotions that had his fight there on the undercard, right? It was what, Charles Conwell that was on that undercard. So, I mean, hey, maybe they could try to do something there with that. But you also do have another guy there at 154 pounds on the Golden Boy that was supposed to be a serious contender at 147 pounds, but is now there at 154 and still undefeated, still has all of his wins by way of knockout. And that's Virgil Ortiz Jr. So that's the whole thing, man. Conwell, had that stoppage win over Nate Gallimore in this, fight card. That was expected, though. But it looks like maybe Conwell and Virgil Ortiz is going to be set up for a fight. So we'll see how that goes, man. Well, damn, man, we almost like an hour in on this conversation. Biggest for everyone that's listening live on X and on YouTube. If y'all can, y'all go ahead and hit the like button on this joint and support. Hit the share button there for the Boxing Source. Support the movement. Hit the subscribe button. But yeah, like, what was that? Yeah, I did mention there. Terrence Crawford as a potential opponent for Ryan Garcia. Yeah, that's wild. That would be wild. What was another one that I had heard? Ryan Garcia against Emmanuel Dappy-John Pacquiao. Yeah, Manny Pacquiao. Nah, like, come on. Manny Pacquiao coming out of retirement to fight Ryan Garcia. Nah, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. I mean, shout out to MVO for coming up with these ideas for big events, but yeah, that's kind of stretching it. Ryan Garcia versus Sebastian Fedora. Oh, yeah. Now that is out there. That's out there. Matt Gomez says, hell no. For Ryan versus Manny Pacquiao. Hell no. Yeah, that would be wild. That would definitely be wild there. But that kind of like was out of left field. Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao. But if y'all remember some time back, before we had the thing materialized between Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, that Ryan Garcia was mentioning Manny Pacquiao's name. What was that, back in 2021 or something like that? 2021 or 2022, that he was mentioning Manny Pacquiao's name. But yeah, I just don't see how that would kind of like go. Um, that would be an interesting matchup. I like this one. Shout out to Solo Dolo in the building, man. Ryan versus Pitbull Cruz. Ooh, that would be. I would like that fight. I would like that fight. Given their styles, I would like that fight. A quick twitch fighter in Ryan Garcia. A short, stocky, come forward fighter that isn't necessarily precise with his punches in Pitbull Cruz. Someone's gonna get hurt. I like it. I like it. Ryan Garcia versus Pitbull Cruz. Sign me up. I like it. Sean Porter and Andre Berto still can provide Ryan with some good sparring. They probably do that over there in Vegas if Ryan Garcia like trades over in Vegas or something like that. Berto gives different people some work, different fighters work, while they prepare for stuff. So, and I'm sure Sean Porter probably does the same thing as well. So there's that. Here's a good question, especially coming off of this win, and I want to see like how people are still reacting to this win by Ryan Garcia. But great question by Talk Trends. Can Ryan Garcia take the Mexican dates from Canelo Alvarez? Or like who is it, Dr. Umar? Ooh. That could be something, right? And I really want to see what happens here in a couple weeks with Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia. I'll be out in Vegas for that weekend. So I want to see I want to see what the atmosphere is for that fight week. Is it like the biggest fight possible that could be made for Canelo? Surely isn't. Do people really think that Jaime Munguia has much of a shot? It doesn't look like it, but hey, look what we just seen here last night. We saw a guy that was a minus 1,000 favorite at one point, ended up losing by majority decision. So if you have someone in Canelo Alvarez who's going to be, seriously favored here against Jaime Munguia, hey, maybe you can have something there where we see another upset. That could be something. But as far as like overall, overall, what I would say, impact or value, Canelo is kind of like viewed as the quote unquote face of boxing right now. Kind of like viewed as the face of boxing. So are we saying that Ryan Garcia could be the new face of boxing? Now here's the thing. As far as like those odds for Canelo versus Munguia, Canelo is a minus 600 favorite in comparison to Jaime Munguia at plus 425 on DraftKings right now. So If you want to go ahead and take that chance with Hamid McGee, you could. I do know people that did pick Ryan Garcia to win, and they were able to, cash in on that. So props to them. I just didn't feel like it was gonna happen. I just really didn't expect what I saw out of there from Devin Haney. I thought it would have been more defensively sound. It wasn't like Ryan Garcia set any traps or nothing like that. He really didn't. Everything was mainly straightforward with what Ryan Garcia was doing, and Devin Haney just couldn't really deal with it. Well, yeah, Ryan got more bigger fights left than Canelo. That is true. Yeah, that's true. He got a rematch with Devin Haney. Depending on what Ryan Garcia does as far as like his weight, he could have another rematch with Tank Davis. So we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, exactly, Solo. I never imagined Ryan would beat Haney in that way. Never. Yeah. And like I'm saying, I mean, it wasn't like it was a strategic type of thing. He like Ryan just beat him with just his basic weapons. That's it. A left hook and a right hand. Nothing really to set it up. No jabs to set it up. Um, Anything outside of maybe a couple of counters here and there. But yeah, he was able to defeat Devin Haney in that, and he basically did it within 6 rounds. He beat Ryan Garcia, basically beat Devin Haney in 6 rounds, just with those 3 knockdowns, and with what he did in the first round. Basically, that's how he was able to defeat Devin Haney. But yeah, other than that, really didn't see that many tools in the toolbox. Now, could it lead to a little bit more out of Ryan Garcia? We'll see. I mean, he's been with what Derek James for a couple of fights. That's just 2 fights there. He had that Oscar Duarte fight, and now this one. And so after those two, we'll see what's there for Ryan Garcia after this. But yeah, I just felt like Devin Haney could have did a lot better than that. Now, going back to Devin Haney in reference to that, and this is kind of like going to the second main question here in the title. Is Devin Haney, was he being overrated in a sense? Did more people, including myself, give him more props than he should have had? Um, one person that kind of like assessed this fight or going into this fight that picked Ryan Garcia said that it was a bad matchup for Devin Haney because one, it was a guy that was around or at his height in Ryan Garcia, but also it was a guy in Ryan Garcia that was faster than him and stronger. So how would Devin Haney be able to deal with a guy that's faster and stronger? Thought he would be able to do it with skill and also use defense, but he wasn't able to do that. You know, um, he says, he says, dad's black, mom's Latina. He had a family from both sides over on fight night. It was crazy with black. Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine it was nuts. It was nuts. With both sides. You have your whole side for Haiti and a whole side for Ryan Garcia. I could understand how crazy that could have been. I like to know like how people reacted to the decision when it came down. Because the decision when I listened to it live, I was like 112, a draw. I was like, okay. And then it had the thing there where it had the scores of 114, 110, and 115, 109. And I'm like, whoa. Like I didn't feel like it was that wide. I did not think it was that wide at all. You know. Um especially given like how many rounds Devin Haney to me got in those first six. You know, but like I said, like Robin Taylor, like had what was that from round 6 to round 12, all in favor of Ryan Garcia with that 1 point deduction. So that's crazy. That's wild. But that's how they felt they felt was going on was that they felt like Ryan Garcia was just landing. I guess they said he was landing more significant shots or whatever it was. But yeah, I didn't think the score would be that wide. I thought it would be closer to that 112, or like a 113, 111. You know what I'm saying? Um, what he says, interesting comment here. Says, wait, hold up. Rios, why, new visit up in here. Says Devin was probably depressed deep inside before the fight. I don't know. I don't know where that would come from. But all I know is he had the stuff where what was it? Everybody's like posting it now where you had Ryan Garcia just snapping his fingers and like doing a song, and Devin Haney was like, what in the world is going on with this guy? Like, is he all right? um is it mental health affects everything? But here's the thing though, right? Remember, wasn't it Ryan Garcia that was having a whole thing with the mental health? He had that whole episode with the mental health. That was Ryan Garcia, right? Yeah, so let's see, man. He said, Talk Trend says, you gotta watch the interview. Ryan punches was connected with these. Hey, I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't really dispute that. I mean, my thing was that Devin Haney just wasn't disciplined to where he was getting continuously hit with the left hook and was getting hit with the right hand. You know, but I was saying like his stance was like opening the door for those two punches, and I couldn't really understand it. Like you don't necessarily have a high guard, or just try to work off of that. I would have worked off of a high guard. If you know that your opponent's best punches or the biggest punches that they're known for is the left hook and the right hand, you'll want to be able to be disciplined and have either a high guard by default or have it to where if you're going to utilize the jab, make sure that your right hand is you like you have the phone. What is it? The telephone stance with your right hand right by the ear. So if you're going to be getting hit with the left hook, at least you're going to be able to either catch it, block it, or nullify the overall power of it for a little bit by having your right hand in a phone stance. And you didn't see that there from Devin Haney. He just kept getting hit with the left hook from round 1 through round 12, and it ended up being his downfall. But revisiting it to Ryan Garcia's stance, like I was saying before, you had Ryan Garcia that scored that first knockdown in round 7 and had pretty much Devin Haney on spaghetti legs. But he could have really, really busted up Devin Haney in the 7th round if he knew how to work off of the clinch. And he didn't do that until the 11th round when he scored that knockdown in the 11th round. He came off of the clinch. What was it? Through right hand, left hook, put down Devin Haney off of the clinch. Like you're able to squirm off of that and do a bloom bloom and score another knockdown, which was kind of like the one that kind of like separated Ryan Garcia from Devin Haney at that point. Hank Gomez says Dev needs some power training with Calvin Ford. You know what? Shout out to Coach Calvin Ford, Coach Kenny Ellis. They're out of Upton Gym in Baltimore, and of course, you got the folks at the Rise, Coach Squeeze and Coach Senior All Access. Yeah, I haven't caught the full reaction video there from Rise podcast for this particular fight. What was it? I think Coach Senior called called it for Ryan Garcia, and I think Coach Squeeze had called Devin Haney for the win. I think Thomas Hill will be able to help me out with that one, but I don't think Coach Calvin kind of be able to do that, man. What he said, Thomas Hill, shout out to Thomas Hill, man. He said he allowed all the outside noise to seep into his psyche and fought a bad fight. Yeah, and yeah, the clinch, yeah. Like that was the thing that with Devin Haney, like when he gets hurt, he goes and he clinches, right? And clinches really quickly on any sign of trouble. Sometimes he's able to try to fight out of it, but he just only knows how to clinch and can't really work himself off of that. And actually, there were a couple of things there where I kind of like said, yeah, he maybe Matt, you might be right. He does need some power training, but it ain't gonna come from Calvin Ford. uh, good question here from Talk Trends, man. He says, should Dev train with Coach Bozy? Coach Bozy Ennis out there in the dungeon in Philly. There you got of course Jerron Boots Ennis. You got Andy Cruz out there. You got Haven Brady Jr. out there in the dungeon as well. Shout out to Haven Brady Jr. Um, maybe, but like this efficient, economical offense that Devin goes with, it only works up to a certain point. But against guys that have that type of a style, like a Ryan Garcia, who has like a quick twitch, that won't necessarily work. Another fighter, and yeah, shout out to who was it? Solo Dolo that had that matchup with Ryan Garcia. But also, what if he had this, right? And he's remember Devin Haney's still a WBC champion, right? Have the WBC champion Devin Haney against the WBA champion in Pitbull Cruz. How would Devin Haney be able to deal with a guy like Pitbull Cruz? Let me run that again. How would Devin Haney be able to deal with a fighter like Pitbull Cruz that comes forward and throws punches and doesn't care what you throw towards him? And he's a short fight. He's a short fighter, yes. But he isn't really affected, especially with punches to his head. Like he got a rock for a head, so them jabs ain't really gonna be much something that'll really affect him all that too tough. So how would Devin Haney be able to deal with a fighter like Pitbull Cruz? That would be a crazy style matchup. Crazy style matchup. And could be in the cards if Devin Haney still wants to campaign there at 140 pounds and be that WBC super lightweight champion. But like I was saying earlier, I'm really up in the air as far as like if Devin Haney should continue to compete at 140, especially if they feel like he has it takes a little extra time for him to try to get down to 140. Yeah, Matt Gomez. Isak Cruz does have a bowling ball head, man. I'm telling you, he has a bowling ball head, man. Listen, Tank Davis couldn't really affect him all that too tough. Yes, he did have one hand and was working with one hand, but he was showing some great skill in that fight. But Tank Davis wasn't able to really affect him, but we'll see, man. Yeah, Devin Haney certainly can. Subriel Matias could get in some action. Hey, that would be what about a fight between Subriel Matias and Isak Cruz? Subriel Matias versus Isak Cruz. Two fighters that go forward and only could go forward. Who would be the first fighter to step backwards in a fight between Subriel Matias and Isak Cruz? That would be Something there to really look forward to. That's a crazy matchup right there. Crazy matchup. So I would like to see that too. That would be a nice matchup. Subban Matias and Isak Cruz in the unification. I know that Matias has a upcoming title defense there with his IBF title, going up against Liam Perro. But yeah, that another unification possibility. Subban Matias and Isak Cruz. I say why not? But yeah, that's the thing though with Dev though. Yeah, maybe it was something there. Maybe Thomas Hill had something. I don't know. Maybe allow the outside noise to get in. I'm not too sure, man, because he fought a real undisciplined fight. He did. Um, he fought a real undisciplined fight, and I thought he was. I thought he was much better defensively than what I saw. I thought he was much better defensively than what I saw. So that was something there, man. Oh yeah, he said. Thomas Hill also said like, oh no, Matt Gomez said, "Hey, you can't believe that John Scrappy Ramirez lost." Yeah, yeah, I didn't think he would, and he lost like significantly there against David Jimenez. Man, that one was something that a lot of people really didn't expect. They thought that Scrappy was one of those guys that would really be a key player there in the super flyweight division, and would have kind of like been one of those guys to watch out for, like a potential uh, fighter to face the current champion there, Kazuda Ioka. But yeah, he was able to. He just had that setback there, man. And got it. Pretty much got out boxed, out hustled, man. That was it there for Scrappy Ramirez. So that was one fight that kind of like threw some people off, also. You know, what else they have on the card? You had Sergey Derevyanchenko get a unanimous decision over Vaughn Alexander. Yeah, that was a shutout. So yeah, that wasn't much of something. The Beck fight, I pretty much like expected that technical decision there in favor of Beck the Bully. So you had him win. Darius Fulgham, I expected that to be an easy fight for him. Mari Jones ends up getting a technical knockout win. But also, you said that Arnold Barbosa Jr. with a split decision against Sean McComb, where one of the cards was 8-2 in favor of Sean McComb, and it was just it was a tough fight to go through. Tough fight to go through, a tough fight to get through, and the thing there with Arnold Barbosa, yeah, he's still there undefeated now at 30-0, and he's there competing at the super lightweight division. I mean, he's supposed to be one of those guys that is a top contender there in the super lightweight division. Currently, the number one ranked fighter in the WBO, right under the champion there in Teofimo Lopez. And Barbosa, before he got signed with Golden Boy, he was talking about, you got all these guys here that got world titles, and I'm here, I'm undefeated, I'm a top contender, and they didn't even, mentioning my name as far as like having a fight with me. And so he, eventually maneuvers over to be signed by Golden Boy. Of course, he's, based out of LA, the LA area and everything like that. So, Golden Boy is mainly a West Coast type of a promotional company. So, kind of like with a bit of, looks like a good little match, there for those two. But this was his first fight while being under, Golden Boy Promotions. And yeah, this one, it was a really, really tough fight to get through. And for him to like kind of get this split decision win, Yeah, that's not good for his momentum. Thomas Hill said that McComb was the one that should have got that nod there for this particular fight. So I mean, hey, that's kind of like what they got there. McComb, he was able to perform very well, but I think, hey, maybe he has something there where some people may think that maybe Barbosa got a little bit of favoritism of sorts. Who knows? But yeah, that one right there was a real big setback for Arnold Barboza there when he's potentially or wants to try to contend for a world title there at 140 pounds. So he's gonna have to do much better than that in his next one. Now the thing about it is that Golden Boy doesn't not only have Arnold Barbosa Jr., but they also have Jose Carlos Ramirez there at 140 pounds. So maybe we can see Barbosa versus Ramirez later on down the line. Hey, we'll see. Thomas Hill said, "Hey, Barbosa looked like a basic fighter. McComb had his number by all accounts. Hey, yeah. That's the thing, man. You build up a record like Barbosa has, um, and he only has like that thing there where he um has 11 wins by way of knockout or stoppage. All these other ones have been unanimous decision wins where he's been able to outbox all of these opponents, everything like that. He actually had a unanimous decision win over Daniel Lita Zarita. For those that are familiar with the Zarilla name, like he fought Regis Prograis and gave Regis Prograis a whole lot of trouble. But Barbosa was able to outbox him for a unanimous decision win, and also he has that win over Jose Pedraza, the veteran there too. So I think that's been his MO, is being able to like outbox and outpoint a lot of his opponents. But here in this fight against Sean McComb, that one was like, yeah, he had a real struggle there against a guy in Sean McComb that was, a really tall fighter there at super lightweight that, Barbosa just couldn't really get around or get through. Um, yeah, yep, that's the thing. Yep, Devin is still the WBC super lightweight champion. So we gotta see what will be out there or what's next there for Devin. But I kind of like brought it up. You still have Sandor Martin as number one contender. And if the WBC goes ahead and names Sandor Martin the mandatory challenger, that would basically be the matchup. And I said it before, and I'll say it right now: that fight would not be aesthetically pleasing at all. Wouldn't want to go for all that. Nah. Like give me Devin Haney versus Gary Antoine Russell, like I mentioned before. Give me that fight. Like I would definitely watch that fight. I would definitely be down for that fight. But Devin Haney versus Sandor Martin, yeah, you could only have that fight like in Oakland, not even Oakland. I was saying Oakland. They ain't got no venues out there really. Be in San Francisco. But are you really gonna try to have a fight between Devin Haney and Sandor Martin at the Chase Center? With that type of that venue with that much capacity there? I don't know about all that. When it said the ref Rudy should ref for Ryan versus Devin rematch. He would let them put in work. Who's the ref Rudy? You would have to like give me the full name of that referee, there because Dave Chappelle, Harvey Doc, yeah, he kind of struggled there a little bit in this fight. As far as like refereeing this fight. Taking a point away from Ryan Garcia, having a lot of warnings for both fighters for holding and clinching. Trying to control both fighters. It was a real struggle there for Harvey Doc. Like Harvey Doc is usually really good with these type of things. Excuse me. But there for this fight, yeah, he was kind of struggling. Rudy Battle, okay, Rudy Battle. Okay, yeah. Maybe Rudy Battle, or I mean, I'd be interested to see how Thomas Taylor would have refereed this fight. Thomas Taylor has, over the past year and a half, been more uh, inclined to be the referee for these big fights. So maybe Thomas Taylor could get the call. You know what I mean? He can get the call for maybe a rematch there. So we'll see. Yeah, man, Harvey Duck was bad last night. Yeah, he definitely was far from his best night in there in the ring. He's like I said, he's usually one of the better referees out there, but last night, nah, he was not. He was not. Yeah, man, Thomas Taylor, man, I'm telling you, he's definitely gained some more experience, big fight experience there. I think, um, yeah, he's kind of gained up there. While more of the older referees have kind of like fizzled and phased out. So what was it? Like who was it? Richard Steele. I don't like that. Now that's a blast from the past, Richard Steele. Um, but we've had like a couple of referees that have basically retired from the game. So now you got guys like a Thomas Taylor there that's getting more of these big fights. Harvey Duck has been getting these big fights here over the past year or so. So you're gonna be seeing more of these guys here present for these particular fights. While these other older referees are kind of like not being able to be out there for these fights anymore. You know what I'm saying? Kenny Bayless, has been, one of those guys that had been the main person there for big fights or whatnot. But now you're not seeing Kenny Bayless out there that much anymore. Who else there? You had my guy. Of course, Tony Weeks is basically retired from the game. So he's off of there. Like who else? Steve Willis too. You don't really see Steve Willis that much. For these big fights that much anymore. So that's why you kind of like see Thomas Taylor and Harvey Dock as more of the main people there as far as like referees for these big fights. So yeah, there's definitely that that you like kind of like see there for having a guy like Harvey Dock or like a Thomas Taylor as your main referee for these big fights. But yeah, Harvey Dock really slipped up in this one, and he's gonna have to it's gonna have to be a little bit better out there for that. But that's what I had in reference to the fight there, man, and that fight card. As far as like what's going down next week, you do have Virgil Ortiz Jr. that's going to be fighting, of course, there, and Jose Carlos Ramirez that's fighting, and he's going to be fighting Rancis Barthelemy. Well, Jose Ramirez is fighting Rancis Barthelemy. Virgil Ortiz is fighting Thomas Delorme. How in the world are they able to approve a fight with Thomas Delorme at junior middleweight? Come on, man. What are we doing? Oh my goodness, yo. And wow, Jojo Diaz is facing Oscar Duarte also next week. So man, yeah, that's what we got, man. It's gonna be a lot of action on the zone on Saturday there. So y'all be able to catch some good fights there on the zone on Saturday. I think we also have like action on Friday too. We got Yoenis Tejas versus JJ Joseph Jackson there at the 154-pound division. That's going to be a really good battle between those two fighters there. I think that's going to be staged in Orlando. I think that's at the Caribe Royale Resort in Orlando. Tejas versus Joseph Jackson, and you're going to have Tony Aguilar versus Alexander Rios. That's going to be on Friday. And yeah, you do have Pro Box on Wednesday as well, so y'all be able to watch out for that as well, man. You know. But with that being said, that was over an hour and 30 minutes here for this podcast. Once again, big ups for everyone that's listening live. If y'all watching the replay, y'all can react to the commentary or the reaction to the fight between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney there for the replay. For those that are on X, y'all could share this on X or share it on YouTube. We appreciate it here at the Boxing Source. We'll be right back at it with the Boxing Source podcast next Sunday, April 28th. As far as like a midweek report for Wednesday, we'll see how that goes. Because like I said, I've been off doing some work over in the West Coast, and I'll be going try to get back to the East Coast by around that time. So we'll see how I feel around on Wednesday to see if I'll do a midweek report. But big ups for everyone that's listening live. Props to you, our brother Matt Gomez here for being consistent person here on the Thing for the Boxing Source podcast and supporting. Shout out to Thomas Hill. Shout out to Talk Trends that was able to chop it up here a little bit. And Solo Dolo and Rios here for the live chat on YouTube. For those that are on X, if you don't have any like comments, you would just go on to YouTube and you'll be able to chop it up on YouTube with the folks here in the chat. But like I said before, y'all go ahead and share the stream. You see the social media accounts there on Twitter, Instagram, and of course the YouTube channel. So you can follow us there on those platforms. And like I said, the end of every show, folks, point about this hit, not get hit, not a stand and trade. And I know, folks, I'm out. Have a good evening.